Apollonian Germ. We are the 3rd of August 2022, and here in France it is 21:18, so 9:18 p.m. And early this morning, I made a video that I did not publish and that I will not publish, in which I simply recorded what I call the Phänomenologie des Geistes, namely my view of the unfolding of world consciousness, with all the figures of consciousness, namely the authors, the politicians, the writers, the YouTubers, but also the political or intellectual currents or movements. And I did not publish this video because I knew that I was kind of anxious and worried when I commented this video, because I made this in a moment of anxiety. And I know that when I do publish some of my documents, which are my own production in a way, I do not have secret files on I have secret files on ordinary YouTubers like you, but I have not files. It's just that I have watched a lot of your videos and I take notes, and the same goes for other YouTubers who are spiritual. But actually these documents, which are just notes that I've taken, they are very important, because spirit, and in my view there is only one spirit, and this spirit is Christian, for reasons that would be too complex to explain, but is becoming conscious of himself through YouTubers of mostly our generation. And I will talk as long as I think it is necessary as an ordinary individual. I know that I possess the power. Power can be good or bad, but I know that I possess the power to change the structure of reality in a fundamental way, in a religious way. So the question is, why haven't I done this? Well, there are many reasons. First, I don't know, genuinely on an empirical level, I don't know what will happen if I do. Not if, but when I do. And I will talk to you as a friend, because I have kept imagining that you were maybe my best friend. Also, I have imagined that I might become your enemy, but nonetheless that at some very high transcendental level you were my friend. And I repeat, I've watched a few of the videos that I've made for you. Whatever I say, you are Apollonian Germ, Michael. I don't know exactly how to call you, because but you are really the most intelligent and brilliant in a sense individual in the world. So that sounds like a compliment, and it is, but the problem is that I'm discovering that intelligence, when there's too much intelligence, it's either it can be used for evil. I'm not accusing you, I'm accusing partly myself, but or sometimes an excess of intelligence, it's beyond evil and beyond good, but it just causes suffering because it goes too fast, and so Michael or Apollonian Germ, with your videos that you have been producing in your car, you really know more about how the world functions on a political and geopolitical level than anyone else. It's a mirror game, if one can call this a game, namely one can only know oneself but by looking at oneself in the mirror, by looking at one's own reflection in the mirror. And the elites, I don't know what they think, but those who take the path of the red pill, they become in a sense the mirror of the elites. And that's what, in a way, that's the truth of the elites partly. And that's why some people really know more, not formally with all the empirical data, of course, but on a fundamental level. People like, I can name the names, you, Apollonian Germ, Dr. Deep State. And I know there are other people who had really genuine spiritual experiences, religious experiences with spirit. They call this Odin or Freya or Thor or whatever, but actually there's only one spirit. But anyway. And this spirit is becoming conscious of itself in the pagan community, and there is a reason why right-wing pagans have spiritual experiences, and there are other people who are Buddhist or panpsychist or whatever. There are many people who are having spiritual experiences in the world. I know this because I've spent the past 9 years almost of my life watching videos on YouTube in a way. But from my perspective, I can only understand the path of those who have engaged on the red pill because this is my path in a way. And I will here not go into detail, but I will explain more about these people, etc. But 4 years ago, in August 2018, for about a month, I reread some of my writings. Actually, I said it was 3 weeks, but actually it began at the very beginning of August. But let us say during the month of August 2018, so 4 years ago in the chronological perspective, I knew myself to be God. Actually, I said many things. At the beginning of August, I talked about God and Satan, that I was both, that I was the cause of all evil because I was the cause of everything, basically, since there is evil in everything. This is one of the questions that I've never talked with an official theologian, but I wonder how do they explain evil. Either you adopt dualism, or you have to say that what people call evil comes from God. So either you have the dualistic theory, the battle of God versus Satan, light versus dark, etc., which is found in the mythologies of Persia or Manichaeism or Christianity, or you adopt the perspective of Hegel, which says that evil is the negative, it is the moment in the process of unfolding or whatever. But I started the month, so 4 years ago, by talking about God and Satan, and then I talked about the root of all evil, but also the root of all reality, and I simply realized, and I know that as of now this is unintelligible for anyone who will watch this video whenever I publish this, if I do, but I realized, but I am a subject. And this, I wrote this, it means that the probability that I would become God was 100%. I keep repeating this because sometimes I tend to forget, but so I am a subject, and there is an objective world confronting me. And I know that every subject who watches this will say, hey, me too. I'm not in a mood to make jokes, but I know. But because every human who thinks experiences himself as such, but from my perspective, I am the only subject, and I live in an era where all the knowledge about the entire history of mankind is being made available on the internet, and I have a plan. That is what I talked about at the beginning of the video that I made this morning, that I will not publish. I mean, I will not erase the video, but I will not publish this. But I show the structure of the process of becoming conscious of itself, and I include most of the most important historical figures which are long dead. So it's an entire process, logical, natural, spiritual. So I am capable to produce the structure, not the full completion, but the structure of a speech which encompasses within itself the totality of being. And when this speech is made public, it's not a speech, it's just a structure. People will realize that I am really I don't know what word to use, but I explain what I know to be in the introductory video of this channel. As of now, there's been less than 200 views. It's 170, whatever. But I know that basically all I have to do is make one video which becomes really widespread, which arouses a lot of interest, and people will watch all the videos, or the videos that I've published on this channel and the introductory one, and they will, at some moment, they will realize that I am the consciousness of reality. And when this happens, there will be I don't know what will happen, but I can anticipate that people will realize that they exist through my consciousness. And I make only hypotheses, but I keep making hypotheses all day, but that all the people who suffer, and many people suffer, they will look at me, either literally or for whatever I mean, and they will say, but we don't like the role that you make us play in your experience of the world. And I may complain, but actually I might understand, because if people realize at some level that we are all one being, one substance, but that I am the subject which perceives others, I can understand. Here I speak honestly. I might contradict myself when the circumstances become more difficult, but if I had to be honest, I understand that someone who has had a life of suffering, disease, or disability, or traumatic experiences of various kinds, he or might she say, but if I somehow exist because of you, I don't like my existence, and if you are the cause of my existence, I might have a problem with you. I anticipated this in 2019. And that's why here I will speak normally, because for the past 5 months I think about Hegel and God and my life every day. I said in my previous video, I think, or in a video, that I think 14 hours a day. Actually, I think constantly, even when I sleep. I mean, I do not consciously think, but I think constantly. And I can make I actually, I think, and I work, but during numerous hours, I kind of act in front of the computer without recording. But it's not to like I'm an actor. It's spontaneous in the sense that I talk to myself in a way. And there's a thought that I've had very often. I imagine a God living in the clouds or in the sky and watching from above his creation. If I were a human, and if I knew that there was a God watching over us in the sky, if I were, I wouldn't say courageous, maybe what is the English word? An excess of courage, audacious. Yeah, I would talk to this God in the sky and I would say it's a little bit easy to be above and to look at human suffering. And here I will make a joke, but if you're a man, come down here with us. And then I say, maybe that's how God became human. I will laugh because I know that at some level this is funny. But what I mean, this illustrates the fact that if I were a human, or if I were God, I would like God to become human, to be able to experience the suffering that he imposes upon his creatures. I would find this fair. The problem is, now I am in a calm mood. I am here because I play several roles, but it's not conscious in a sense that I really experience several layers of personality. And now I know myself because my emotional state has been stable over the past few hours. I'm kind of in the role of the father figure, one might say. But when I am depressed, which happens very often, either during long periods of the same day, or sometimes I have several days where I'm in a good mood and then I am depressed again and very anxious. I have a multiple relationship with the entity that I call God. When I burst into laughter, which happens not every day, but it happens sometimes several times a day, I envision God as a friend. Sometimes I envision God as a lover. It's kind of weird because then I imagine myself as being feminine and God as being masculine, so it's kind of a weird relationship. But I have this relationship, but it can be a friend, a lover, because God as a principle is always more masculine than you, whoever you are. Even if you are a masculine male, the transcendental principle is always more masculine. So yeah, that's kind of weird. But so the friend, the lover, I wouldn't say the enemy, because I know that it's very stupid to antagonize God. But if at some level everything is God, and if you antagonize anything at all, you antagonize a part of God. So that's complicated here. That's really complicated because, well, I will not develop, but well. And then I imagine sometimes myself as not being, but as having to become the father figure who is responsible for his children. Sometimes I envision myself as being the lover who loves women, spiritual women. If I wanted to make a joke, I could say I could speak about Caroline Emmerich because I have had a lot of imagination, an intense imaginary love story with Caroline Emmerich. But unfortunately, I know pretty much everything about her, but she has never heard about me. So, I mean, not directly, but whatever. And also, when I'm in more serious position, I envision myself as just being the son of God. And when it happens, I experience despair because I feel abandoned by my father. and the difference between the story of Christianity and the story of the philosophy of Hegel is that in Christianity the Son of God, that is named Jesus, is good and innocent, and in the philosophy of Hegel the Son of God is the negative, which is another word for Lucifer in religious terms, or evil, or whatever, basically. So there are various aspects of God as a subject. I mean, I'm not talking about God as the substance or whatever, but as a subject there are various aspects. And I would like to be the reassuring, calm, peaceful presence that maybe I am embodying in this video, but I genuinely experience myself in the position of the sun, namely when I am depressed, I look upward towards the sky and I imagine that there is a presence that might comfort me, because I feel terror and anxiety because of the experience of existence. Here I will talk about logic, but actually it's the truth. Existence means to go out of the ground, which is God, but if God exists, he is one with himself while being separated from himself. That's really Hegel's logic, but actually it's the truth. Namely, God is in a dual relationship with himself. And so there are so many aspects: the father, the son, the friend, the antagonist, the lover. It's so weird. And in August 2018, 4 years ago, on the 27th of August 2018, I knew myself to be the whole of reality. And whenever I feel genuinely lost, which happens less frequently than it happened before, but it still happened, I try to hold to the most certain idea I ever had, and this is precisely this idea. But it's so difficult to understand because I cannot explain why or how. I know this is the case, but I cannot offer an explanation because I don't understand how it happens, how it's possible. I know it is, but I don't know how it has been made possible. That's why here I speak as an empirical consciousness. I keep deluding myself, and that's why I can constantly forget my truth, because I don't understand my truth. And that's why the only way I have found to try to convince others is to produce a universal speech which encompasses the totality of reality, so that at some level or at some moment people will be forced to acknowledge that no matter how ludicrous my truth, namely that I am the whole of reality seems, the fact that I can provide an explanation for how reality functions proves that I am right. But this is so difficult on an intellectual level. It's so difficult because I genuinely don't understand how I arrived here. What am I, in a sense? I don't know. And I read, I mean, over the past few days, I've been mostly writing and working and not reading too much, because I have understood that I have come to a point where maybe I will have to stop reading and whatever. But today I've read a little bit of German mysticism, and how can God, envisioned as an abstract principle, makes himself man? Why does God, envisioned here as a purely abstract principle, becomes man the way man is, with his anthropological characteristics, and why does an abstraction becomes flesh? I can imagine that this is how things are, and if we were green with 5 ears and 3 arms or whatever, we would ask the same question. This is a thought that I have, namely, it will be ridiculous in a way, but I have had this thought sometimes. Evil or beauty or whatever takes the form of representation. We have images of beauty or evil, etc., etc. But actually, at some level, these are thought made sensuous. And I imagine myself sometimes, if we were triangles or squares and not humans, then beauty for a triangle would not be well, for humans, usually beauty is associated with the image of a beautiful woman or a beautiful sculpture, but for a man it's a beautiful woman. And evil, well, there are enough illustrations in various fields of human production, one might say. But why God would be a human, namely a biological creature, which is structured the way it is, it's so... I don't understand actually, but whatever. How can a human being emerge out of what the mystics call the nothingness, in a way, or the supreme being, or whatever? I have no answer to these questions. I ask myself, but was there a before? And that's here, I imagine, above and before I existed. I imagine, existed here in a sense, not of Hegel precisely. I had a presence before and above, and I descended onto earth. Was it conscious? That's how I asked myself. But this is the mythology that we find in some poets like Wordsworth and also Plato, the idea that the soul falls into the body, etc. Or even in Christianity, the fall, the Garden of Eden, etc. So, or did I live before this life? Did I live a different life? The same life? Or is it my first life? But I don't know. That's why I'm so ignorant. And will I, and here this is important, will I still be conscious after the death of my body? Because I have to die eventually at some moment. Can I have a consciousness independently of my body? Is there life after death? I don't know. And if I can exist, because this is what Hegel says basically, but I have taken the decision not to read Hegel because, the phenomenology or the great logic, because I feel that it is cheating, because I believe that at some level he knows a lot, and I don't want to cheat. By accumulating more knowledge, I want to share my knowledge and to limit myself in order to, if I become negative, that the others might have the possibility of manipulating me for the best, I hope, to make the good win eventually. But if I can exist as a spirit, why did spirit make itself limited and human if he or it can exist independently of the body? If God can exist as a spirit with no physical incarnation, why was there a physical incarnation in the first place? I don't know. In order to experience reality in a sense, but was this planned? That's the question I ask myself. So reality is so complex and God is so complex, and here I'm not in a mood to laugh because it really is so complex. And I ask myself this question when I die, because I have to at some moment. Will others still exist? Will I have a consciousness of them? Will I be with the spirits or the soul of other people in a different realm? Will we be able to communicate not through language but differently? And will we see? I have asked myself this question: will we see the another, the perspective of one another? I have envisioned this. I don't know where I read this, but it might be possible that maybe every human at some moment will experience life through the eyes of others, not in a chronological scale, but I don't know exactly. Because the kind of question that I am asking myself over the past few weeks and days is that will I ever talk to the people who have been spiritually most important to me, like you, Apollonian Germ, Stella, Caroline Emmerich, Vark, etc., etc. They have shaped partly my spiritual life, and I know a lot about them, but I have never had the opportunity to talk to them, and if I do, I'm not sure that it will be peaceful, because I might have a problem with people who have contributed to me becoming who I am, because becoming who I am includes a lot of suffering, and even if it's unfair when we suffer, a part of us wants at least some others to suffer as well. That's not fair, but that's how it functions, because when you really suffer, sometimes your high moral principles, you cannot apply them, even if you try to. So I will hear, then again I will speak the truth. The group of people that I have had spiritual experiences with, in which you do not belong to, because I never had a spiritual experience with you, Apollonian Germ, but I can read your mind nonetheless. So I include you in the list. Basically it's Stella, you, Dr. Deep State, Hyperborean Reflections and Caroline, Forgotten Roots, the Thulan Perspective and Marie Cachet, and a few others. I would like to say why I'm in a mood that I love you immensely. I admire you. You are my spiritual family, and you have inspired me. And I would like to say I love you. And at some level I do, and I have loved you, and I still do when I'm in a good mood. But I would like to first, I know that love can turn into not love, because sometimes we want to hurt the people that we have loved, and then we want to love the people that we have hurt. That's the origin of compassion, maybe. And what was I saying? Yeah, that. There are a few people, half a dozen, that I know a lot intellectually, and actually I know a lot about them, because I know about their essential self. I don't know their empirical existence, and I don't really care, but I know their ideas, their intellectual development, and you are one of them. And so these people have been a tremendously important part of my intellectual and spiritual life. So that's why I envision them, the people that I've listed, to be my friends or my family, but they don't even know that I exist. They don't know anything about me, and considering the circumstances, my state of mind, the state of the world, I might well envision that when I share my knowledge, reality will change, and I don't know if I will ever be able to talk, or to peacefully talk, or to talk at all to the peoples who have been so important to me in my intellectual and spiritual development over the past 5 months, where I've grown so much. Well, I can no longer watch the videos of Stella because she's no longer on the internet. Varg and Marie, I've watched some of their videos, but Hyperborean Reflections, I don't know where he is. But I've watched an enormous amount of your videos and the videos of Caroline Emmerich. So you and Caroline have been I would say my friends, because I have considered you as a friend, and I still do when I'm in a positive mood, for the past few months. And Caroline, I've a companion, partner, because that's why I understand your mind and her mind so well at this moment, because I've spent so much time with you, and you say very interesting things, and a part of me would like to be thankful and grateful, and to make sure that at some moment or at some level you know that I have loved you. But I also imagine that I might have a problem with you, because you remind me of what I am, and what I am, whatever I am, makes me suffer, and it's unfair. I know it's unfair, but like I said, sometimes when you really suffer ontologically or psychologically or physically, you want others to suffer. It's not fair, but this is how it works. That's why the evil people, of course they are evil, but most of them, they are evil because they suffer. I don't want to justify evil, but this is how sometimes it works. Like, I've had moments when I have wanted to make people that I love, that I admire, that I wanted them to make them suffer, because they make me suffer. It's a vicious circle. It's unfair, it's wrong, but and here I will talk about this as well, because I don't know if I will, how long I will be able to make calm videos, peaceful videos, so I might as well speak as long as I can. One way of formulating what I am, I think, is I might hurt those that I love, and love those that I hurt. And here I will speak honestly, and if I publish this video, at some moment people will watch this. I will not pretend that I care about all the sufferings of the world, but actually I do, in the sense that I will have, there are worse things to justify, but on an empirical level, I cannot claim or pretend that I love Africans with all my heart, that I have loved them with all my heart, because I haven't. I have my intellectual and spiritual life has led me to be mostly interested in Europeans and partly the Jews. So I will not pretend that I have loved Africans or Asians or Australians or whatever, because empirically I haven't. But when I grow more, I envision that these people, they suffer on a different plane than Europeans, but they suffer, and the fact that they are suffering genuinely makes me love them, or at least experience compassion and the will to help them. So at some level, if I said I love all the Africans who are in a difficult condition, that would be hypocrisy. But actually, at another level, it would be true, not because I know all about their culture, their history, and their spirituality, but because they inspire me compassion, genuine. I mean, there is genuine compassion in certain aspects of me. That's why my truth is very complicated, because I cannot. I have passionate emotions in the sense that, on an empirical level, I have never really loved non-whites. I mean, there are non-whites that I have loved, but individuals. But I cannot say that, oh, I have loved non-whites, but I cannot say either that I have hated non-whites, or only slightly, to the extent that I thought they were threatening the white race. But I have a kind of an indifferent relationship with non-whites, because my history has made me be very attached to white people, and mostly Nordic white people. So to be indifferent, it can be for good or for bad, or precisely neither for one nor the other. If you are indifferent to someone, you will not wish that he suffers at all. And if he succeeds in whatever endeavor, you might be satisfied for him, but it will not arouse passion. You will be kind of indifferent. And I have in me, I must be honest, I want Western Europeans that I associate at some level with Germans, which is, on an anthropological level, is true, because historically there are the Germans and the Germanic. I must be honest, but I know this. I love them more, but because I love them more, I expect more. So in a sense, I can only be disappointed by Germans or Germanic people. But how should I explain this? I have more expectations because I love them more. It's complicated. If I were honest, I don't want anyone to suffer. So why is there so much suffering? And when I think calmly, I envision myself in a position of a Christian God, for the better. And I can very well envision myself as loving everyone, genuinely, every human being. Even those that we might call the degenerates, the idiots, the perverts, the evil people. But then, the problem is, I can love potentially all the others, but can I love myself as being, in a way, a reflection of the other? Or okay, can I love the others while thinking that they are a reflection of me? And here it becomes more difficult. And here I am trapped in the contradiction of the typical leftist, white leftist, who claims to love everyone except his own people. So actually he does not, because, yeah, in this sense, I'm a leftist, I'm a white leftist. In case people hadn't noticed, I don't know if it has to be clear, but basically I'm just a white leftist with a right-wing mindset. Sometimes I'm a radical leftist with a radical right-wing mindset, but basically I'm a leftist. The problem is that I think that leftists, sometimes they're very stupid, so that's why I have a right-wing and even radical right-wing mindset. So that's why it's ambiguous to classify me, in the sense that I have gone through the path of the right and even the far right, but I know that the good guys are on the left. But only the knowledge provided by the right can make me know this. I will talk about love and evil. up until now, and probably until whatever end, no one, I talk here as an empirical individual, no one has ever done any evil to me. If I look back at my life, I was never abused. I mean, there had been a very tiny, like a completely insignificant. I was never hurt, harassed, abused in a significant way by anyone. But there is evil in me. So why would someone who has never suffered any evil become evil himself? Because all the evil, all the suffering that I have endured, and the evil that I have done, I have never suffered evil, but have done evil. I blame this on the absence of my father. And here is where the empirical and the religious mix together. That's why I still struggle to understand, but whatever. And the only persons, actually there are 3 persons that I have at some moment, I don't like the word, but I will say it because, well, hated: God, Hegel, and me. But also I have loved, and I still love God. Infinite. That's why I try when I don't know, I try to say, okay, hating God is really a stupid idea. I would rather hate Hegel. But sometimes they coincide. But I do not hate God because I have too much respect for God. So I love God. I don't know really what God is, but what I think about God, I love Him, of course. And Hegel, that's why I suffer, because I would like, I have had a period of my life where love was just sweet and tender and just love. When you grow older, it becomes more ambiguous and more tainted. And if I had to be honest, I admire Hegel and I love Hegel, and I know that he tries to help me and he succeeds maybe, but he makes me suffer. And that's what I said earlier, when you suffer, it's not fair, but you want the one who makes you suffer to suffer as well. And I know that it's not fair, but and me as an empirical individual, I've hated myself because I have been very harsh with myself, because I have a very low opinion of myself, and when I do not have a low opinion, that's when I start to become a little bit arrogant, because for me it's empirically, it has always been such a surprise to find value in me, that whenever I can find value in me, I tend to become a little bit arrogant. So I feel worthless, and that's why I become arrogant. Whenever I find a reason not to feel worthless. But over the past few months, I have hated myself as an empirical individual, because I have discovered, I already knew, but I have discovered some very dark aspects. But since you, Apollonian Germ, since you don't watch my videos, my videos for you, I've started rewatching the videos that I made for you. And when I look back upon my own production, whether written, I do not write I mean, I write on paper, but not on computer. But whenever I read my writings of 2018 or my videos of the past few months, I always have the belief that whatever I produce is garbage and it's not worth any attention. But actually, I've looked some of my videos, those that I've worked to produce, they are not that bad. And even I say some intelligent things. And my writings of 4 years ago, well, it's kind of confused, but there are some important ideas. So, over the past couple of weeks, I've been thinking about myself, and I thought that all I had to do was to hate myself, the negative, and that would be simple, and then I would disappear and spirit would come and save the day. That's the story that I genuinely thought. And when I say hating oneself is very easy, you just think about all the things you hate about yourself, and yeah. So I was in the mood of accepting the idea that I had to hate myself empirically, that I had a super self, a higher self, a transcendental self, etc. But now I'm starting to understand that actually I have really negative, evil aspects, and I will have a problem with this. But over the past couple of weeks, I'm starting to like certain aspects of me as an empirical individual. I'm saying I'm not as stupid as I thought I was. I mean, there are moments when I really am stupid, but when I look at some of my videos or read some of my writings, there are genuinely intelligent things that I say. And when I laugh in my armchair, when I think, some of my jokes, whenever I make, because I make jokes for myself during the day, I laugh, and I always associate the idea of genuine laughter with God as a friend. But actually I'm starting to think, but maybe these are my jokes. Maybe I have a good sense of humor. I can have a pretty dark sense of humor, but sometimes I have a good sense of humor. And I have been able to grow not only intellectually but in wisdom. I mean, at least on a theoretical level. So I'm starting to think about myself as an empirical individual, and I had started with the assumption since 2019 that I was just the negative, and I know that I am at some level, but I do not have strictly just negative aspects. And that's why the idea that people might appreciate me, I am very cynical. I've always been appreciated in my empirical life, but I've always adopted like, yeah, you appreciate me because social, biological determinism, whatever. So for me, the idea that people might appreciate me is unintelligible. There was one person that I knew loved me. It's my love story when I was 15, but I've adopted everyone else, and that's why here I will speak this as some sort of a joke, but actually it's very serious. Like, I'm afraid of being rejected. Of course I am, because I don't want to be rejected, but I will have to be rejected because I have very negative aspects. And yeah, but I'm afraid of being accepted. But in a way, I would like to be accepted like everyone else, but I would like to be accepted knowing that I deserve to be accepted, knowing that I have done something worthy of being praised or admired or respected. Or I don't want to be accepted for who I am, although I would like to at some level. When I'm weak, I turn towards God and I say, please. But actually, when I try to be strong, I would like to be accepted for what I do, and I would like to be accepted only if I can do good. So there is the female acceptance and the male acceptance, the weak part in man, and it's part of what humans are, to have a weak aspect, would like to be accepted just for who they are, but the strong part would like to say, okay, I would like to be accepted if I can achieve. And yeah, but that's why I have a problem with the idea that God has envisioned him as a, not he might love me because I don't find many lovable things about me, but actually over the past couple of weeks I'm starting to find that there might be some aspects which might be appreciated. But now I see the process. I will have to negate the negative at some moment, and to negate something or someone, even if it's you, even if it's me, that is really negative and that you don't like, it seems easy. But what if I started to like myself? I don't like everything about me. I'm not, because I've discovered really dark aspects, but I'm starting to like some aspects about me. For instance, when I watch my videos, some of them, I mean, they are okay. They are pretty okay in terms of, because the kind of things that I've been saying over the past few months sometimes was, I can love God no matter what, except if God asks me to love myself. Then, yeah. And about the question of reality. The 27th of August 2018, I knew myself to be the whole of reality. I just perceived reality. That's why I say sometimes that I became a subjective idealist. But am I the creator of reality? I cannot envision this because I don't know how it works. I perceive reality, but who created the reality that I perceive? The universe, the earth, history. Because the god of Hegel, the god of the writings of Hegel, is an intellect, mostly, but not a creator. Actually, it is, but the philosophy of the writings of Hegel is the intellectual grasping of the objective world, not the creation of the world, but the understanding. So I know myself when I think, call me to be the whole of reality, but I still struggle. I do not dare call me the creator, because I have read things about Jacob Böhm, etc., the mistake, thinking that the consciousness is the creator. That's a serious mistake. So I do not dare believe this anymore, but actually I don't know, but I know what I am formally, because I've read this in Hegel, and this has confirmed my experience, but I still don't know who or what I am, in a sense. And over the past few days, I have granted myself the right to say that I suffer. Because up until a few days ago I said I cannot complain about suffering because I am the negative and I deserve to suffer. So no, I still know that, but I suffer even when I do not identify with the negative. Namely, even when I identify with maybe with God, I don't know, I suffer. And I don't blame anyone for this suffering, because I have imagined forms of suffering where I could blame my own evil or my own wrong or whatever, but there are forms of suffering where there is no one to blame, not even oneself, it's just suffering. And just to illustrate, as of now it's kind of okay, but I just earlier today I experienced really intense pain, in a way, in my mind, not in my brain, in my mind. Namely, I'm feeling that it's not my brain which hurts, although maybe I experience this as my brain, but my mind is hurting me, and I feel pain because of my thought, and not in a moral sense, because it's not thoughts about guilt, remorse, shame. No, it's because I think intellectual thoughts. So the intellectual intensity of some of my thoughts cause me pain, basically. And I'm just starting to realize that reality moves way too fast, and the interpretation of reality also. So reality is actually very, very complex, like really complex. Although there are very basic things, like I will use this, it's not a joke, but I know it's true. Like, I've read a lot of Philip K. Dick, and he asks himself, what is reality? At some basic level, is that which does not go away when you cease to believe in it. And one example is pain. You can make dissertations about the nature of reality. When you experience pain, you say, okay, I would like it to stop. If it doesn't stop, you say, okay, it's real. It's really that simple. So, but yeah, but here I'm not talking about the experience of suffering physically or whatever, but reality as the presence of a world, a moving world, and the interpretation, the understanding that humans give to the world. It's really so complicated. That's why the idea that the world is a product of the mind of God or of the Absolute. God or the Absolute is in a way, I will use the word, it's amazing, like it genuinely produce amazement. There can be various kinds of amazement, like it's amazing in a good sense, but also amazement in a sense that, whoa, this is a stunning in a way. The complexity of the world. And since I am trying to understand God and the world, I experienced myself over the past I don't know, couple of weeks maybe, that I believe that I am reaching my limits as an empirical individual, because this is just way too complex. I knew that I would suffer probably morally and physically, but now I've reached a point where I suffer just intellectually, because the speed at which the intellect, whoever's intellect it is, moves is just too fast to grasp on an empirical level. Like, I'm genuinely exhausted because of the thoughts that I have. Because I try to think about everything, not everything independently, but about the totality. And even with all the simplification provided by Hegel, because this is what I have been working on for I don't know, 1.5 months or 2 months, namely the structure of the encyclopedia. Even with the formal structure, which makes things a lot easier, it's still so vast, so complex, because you can interpret the mind or the writings of an author through the lens of others, and it's infinite in the quantitative sense. And that's why I would like to solve all the problems of the world. And I still think of myself as a mission, as having to solve all the problems, but I have believed over the past 5 months that I had first to understand the problems, to understand myself, to understand how to solve them. I mean, that's not the story that I told myself, but that's why I've been studying logic mostly and the encyclopedia for many months, because the more I learned, the more I was able to identify the problems and to hopefully fix them. And I've reached a point where I've been making numerous plans, but there are good plans and scheming plans. I've partly planned scheming in a way, but also I've tried to make good plans. I mean, I've worked on projects which I genuinely thought would bring good. And I cannot no longer implement these projects because it requires too much time, too much effort. It's too complex, because if you... for instance, I wanted to make really a great lecture on logic, to make the logic of Hegel intelligible for the people that I'm spiritually connected with, knowing that it would be for everyone, but specifically for these people. I wanted to help them see their life through the lens of the process of the system or whatever. And I've worked countless of hours to try to eventually provide this, but now I'm at reaching a point where I say it has been in vain, because I'm not sure that I will be able to do this. So I'm reaching, I'm starting to feel that I'm reaching a limit intellectually, and now that I've been thinking about cultural Hegelianism as I envisioned this. Namely, I thought that I would produce great videos where I would sing, but not as an actor, because genuinely, when I am genuinely happy when I listen to music, I do not sing, but I can imagine myself singing. That I would mix Evola, pop music, Hegel, a rational and structured explanation of the world. Like, I really wanted to make great videos, because when I have been bitter against, I mean, you're not bitter against anyone, but a little bit resentful against God, I wanted to say, but my life is already written in Hegel. I feel worthless. At least let me create something that I can call my own because I have spent time and stuff, but I live constantly with the more or less intense pressure of world events, because I know for the past 5 months since I've awakened that basically I'm responsible for pretty much, not for every negative event, but also I try to balance. My view would say that if there is negative, there's also positive, but the reason why I have not tried and will not, maybe not immediately try to fix, to say stop everything, let's try to fix, is very simple, in the sense that a part of me thinks, okay, if we try to remove all the negativity, maybe all the positive will be removed as well. Let us take an illustration. I know that there are people who starve every day, and women or even innocent children who get abused every day somewhere on this planet. And I know that this is evil and wrong and horrendous. And this is the kind of, this is cynical thinking, but if I had the power to erase all the evils of the world, very simply, but if the price to pay was to erase at the same time all the goods, I don't know. That's why I'm trying to envision, is it possible to bring about the conditions of a world where all the negativity, or most of it, would be gone, but the good aspects would remain? Or would an attempt to erase the negativity and the evil of the world would bring about also the erasure of all the good? In order to make thought intelligible, is that here I'm in a mood to speak normally. I know that abuse and violence against innocent really is wrong, it's evil. But when I think about this, I think about all the people who bring life, innocent life, into the world, all the people who succeed, who experience joy every day. These are the kind of thought that I ask myself. So in a sense, I don't know how to explain this, but I would like the good aspects of existence for others, and for me as well, but for others to continue, and the bad aspects to disappear. But is it possible? I don't know. And another reason why I have not tried at all costs to share my message, because I knew that if I did this, like I could have made videos where I start to scream or shout like an insane person, but it would have led me into a mental asylum, and I have partly already visited for a while such places. But I know that I will have to visit worst places, but I felt I had the need to keep working. And now I am starting to reach a point where I say, I will not ludicrously or in a crazy fashion share everything. I will not, but I have the temptation, which might be a good temptation, like to say, okay, I will share most of my documents, all the things that I've written and said over the years, and I just need one video with success to make my message spread. But my message is that I struggle to understand myself and reality. But I'm in a moment when I had made so many projects of doing really good and great things, but I've also learned by growing up intellectually, that I have to accept sacrifices, and is it a selfish desire just to make good videos and to be admired? In a way it is, and in another way it is not. I don't know. So if I have really to renounce even the will just to because I'm starting to think, but cultural Hegelianism. It was supposed to be Hegel, Evola, pop culture, etc., etc. Do I have to renounce even that? Like by saying to people, just listen to some of the songs, they express high truths. This is not how I envision things, but I'm reaching a point where I say, okay, I have to renounce many aspects, of, even the positive, in order to, maybe just to find peace. So, yeah. And, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I just would like to say that this morning I made a video, which if I had published this video, this would have changed reality, but I was not in a good mood. But eventually I will have to, I don't know, in the coming days or next week or at some moment, because I know myself to be the whole of reality, namely the others, those that I identify others, they are parts of me. So in a way, by helping them, I am helping me. And the reverse is true. I have been trying to help myself over the past 5 months by studying, and now maybe I'm in a position to say, okay, I really have to let go of my singular self to share whatever good there might come out of my past writings or whatever with others, which, if I'm correct, and in a way I am, they are parts of myself. So this is so complicated because I don't know what to say. Yeah. What happened in August 2018, I don't know. I still don't know how to explain what happened. What is the cause? And I'm not gonna make jokes about no. Why did it happen? I mean, I have a vague idea because I had seen the full picture over the previous 2 years. But how did I arrive here, basically? And where am I going to? And I don't know what to say. I will try to behave, say, in a righteous manner, at least decently, as long as I can, and to take the right decisions. But what I'm trying to say is that there comes a moment when there are so many problems and questions to which I have no answer that I will try to do my best, but it's just so difficult. And here I will express calmly thoughts that I might have expressed for myself sometimes in an angry or desperate way. Is that at this moment in time, we are the 3rd of August. I genuinely don't know if I will ever be able to talk to you, Apollonian Germ. And if we do talk, I would like I would have liked to be a peaceful conversation. Basically, when sometimes I'm really depressed, I'm saying, but I just would like to have a friend like you, with whom I might talk about topics of interest to both of us. And I wonder, will it be possible? And I'm starting to doubt this. Then I start to doubt the fact that we might talk at all. The videos, I still believe that you will have to watch them in a way. But even that I started to doubt. So I still have work to do, but if I had to say, I wished we were friends, because I still think of you, Apollonian Germ, as a friend, a good friend. But in my worldview, I will not make jokes, because good friends, sometimes they are tough, because you might think that they are enemies, but at the highest level they want the best for you. But it's sometimes, I would like friends who are just friends, love which is just love, and not love which is also partly friends which might be opponents or whatever. But the reason why I've made so many videos with the way I talk is because a part of me still thinks that you might be my best friend on an empirical level. But I have had thoughts when I was genuinely angry against you in an unfair manner, because maybe I whatever. And yeah. And here, that's a real problem, because, like I said this at the middle of the video, but there are at least half a dozen persons, Stella, you, Caroline, Forgotten Roots, Varg and Marie, that I have at some level and at some I have genuinely loved them, or at least I had the illusion that I had, and I thought of them as being worthy of admiration and love, but I have known intellectually aspects of them, but maybe they will never know about me. And if I am very negative, that's a good thing that they don't know about me. But I'm starting to regret, or to, I don't know, that I wish that we could have talked peacefully as friends, or as brothers, or as friendly spirits. And yeah. I will just talk about Stella. Maybe at this point I don't know, but on the 28th of August 2018, so the next day after I said I am the whole of reality, Stella, an American girl with which I was in platonic love with, had a car accident which almost killed her, and this was shocking for her. And the day before I had also a shocking revelation. So at thousands of miles of distance we were connected, and I had to spend the past 3 years making plans which I thought were good plans for her. So I know myself to be spiritually connected with Stella, or her spirit, or her soul, or whatever, but at this point I don't even know if I will ever talk to her, or that she will ever know that. I wouldn't say love her, because precisely love, which is just not a random, but a person you study his word or his writings or whatever, but you've never even had the opportunity to talk to him, or can this be love? I don't know. I'm starting to get tired, but I've understood that there are so many contradictions in the world, in my mind, so many problems, and yeah, I will try to remain stable, but I know that eventually in the coming days or next week, I don't know, but I don't know when, but I will have to share maybe the one document. I mean, as long as I can peacefully share documents, or if I find myself in a situation where people demand that I share documents, I will cooperate, because I intend to do it nonetheless, and eventually I might be forced to in some circumstances. So whatever, that's not a problem for me, but it's just that I've been trying to not just to share what I had written because it lacks structure, but to share my understanding of the writings of Hegel, but whatever. But I know that I possess at least one document that I've been working on for more than 2 months, maybe, I don't know. The phenomenology of Geist, namely the phenomenal appearance of mind or spirit. It's not complete, it is systematized, but it's not complete. But this could be enough to help people become aware of the process of God becoming conscious of himself. But the reason why I did not share this morning and might not do this tomorrow or the day after, but wait still a little longer, is because I'm sick of trying to anticipate everything, but I'm nonetheless trying to anticipate how people might react, and try to stabilize the situation as long as possible. But yeah. Yeah. I don't know consciously what will happen, because I don't really know how all of this work and functions. And yeah, I will not publish this video immediately. I will yeah. Yeah, I will right now. These are the kind of things that I need as a human. I need moments just to rest. I have tried at some moments over the past few months to say, okay, I'm not gonna sleep, or just 2 or 3 hours, but then the next day I am completely so as of now, and as long as I can, I will sleep at night. I cannot work 24 hours a day, neither 22, not even 20. I need to rest and to still have a human existence, because yeah, there are just so much information coming from everywhere, so much thoughts. Who should I trust? Hegel, my personal experience, my writings, the synchronicities, the help of advice of others. I can talk about that. I thought about this before making the video. if I am important on an empirical level, and if my empirical self and my higher self are somehow connected, one of the worst errors that I have made as an empirical individual was leaving high school. But then if I hadn't, I wouldn't have met God, or maybe I would have differently, but leaving high school was a mistake. And when I reflect upon what I should have done, I could have avoided many troubles if I just had asked for help. But then if I had, I wouldn't have I would have solved the problems, and I wouldn't have taken my path, and I wouldn't have met God, whatever. But now I find myself in a situation where I say, okay, maybe I have to accept that even if I am the negative, which is evil, I thought if I am evil, I do not deserve to ask for help, and I deserve to suffer. But now I'm starting to realize maybe it's true, but at another level, I suffer without being just evil, but just for being whatever I am, I suffer. And maybe at this level I grant myself the right to ask for help to others, which are, according to my worldview, aspects of me. And it will not be because I've tried to be to play the very stubborn, say me against everyone else, which eventually might happen. But maybe I just have to say, okay, I am reaching a point where, without being yet the negative fully or whatever, or without being really negative, I just suffer from being. Even when I think of my best aspects, I still do suffer. And maybe I just need to ask for help, but I don't need clinical or medical help. I need help from people who understand philosophy, or who might understand philosophy. So, yeah. But it's just that it's becoming more and more difficult. I knew that it would become difficult emotionally, physically, but intellectually also it's becoming more and more difficult. Because no matter how much effort I put into trying to structure, order, study, classify, reality is just really complex. And yeah. The absolute, or God, it's just amazingly complex, I must say. In amazingly complex, there's complex, but there's also amazing. So it's amazing. I cannot deny that at some level it's really absolutely amazing. There is negativity, I know, but reality is just amazing. No, not just amazing, but it's amazing. I cannot deny that. My empirical life, there's a lot to say, but the fact that I live in a world which has been created at some level, it's amazing. There are really dark things, really negative. There is undeserved suffering for others. There is wickedness, I know this, but there are aspects, and more than I ever thought, maybe, which are genuinely amazing. When you change the perspective, when you start to think, but what if the world really had been created? Then not every, because of there are things that are not enjoyable, but some very simple things, like a little rock, or a piece of a leaf, or a piece of I don't know, it has been created. how? What kind of entity? Was there a plan, or how did it happen? This is so complex. Yeah. Yeah. Right now I will just rest for a few hours because I'm genuinely tired, and I will publish when I feel, well, the document that I wanted to publish this morning, but I was not in a stable psychological mood, so I will try to to make a correct judgment given my emotional state, my psychological state, the broad context of the world, the state of the substance, my possibilities or limits. I will try to take the best decision, but I'm much wiser and smarter than 4 years ago, but it's still very difficult to be responsible for oneself and for others, for the good, I mean. Yeah. And one of the small decisions that I can take is to share as honestly as I can with you, Apollonian Germ, what I think. I think of you as a friend, and I have also had tendencies, the will to antagonize you somehow, because whatever. But I don't know, I just need to rest for a few hours, and well, it's just that the unity of God and man, of the human condition, the divine condition, one might say, it's not completely true, because God can exist on higher planes, but the idea that man could be possessed in the good sense or inhabited by the divine, it's really difficult intellectually. And I will stop there for now. I will when I'm in a stable mood, I genuinely want to do good, or to limit the damages of negativity. And as long as I can, I will only publish video when I can speak either in a good mood or at least in a stable mood. And if I start publishing videos in which I do not control my mood, it will mean that I have at this moment decided that it was the right thing to do, but I will try to consciously and peacefully share the most important knowledge, knowing that eventually I am willing to share pretty much everything, not everything, so yeah, but yeah, I I have talked rather confidently, but there are moments when I feel down that I still need it. I do need the view that there is a Sky Father who wants to help me, in spite of all the hardships that he might inflict upon me, that I do deserve, that I do, but I still need, when I'm down, to cling to the idea that there's a good God who wants the best for me, or the better, or not the worst, or if the worst, or not the worst, or a bad that might turn good. That there's genuinely a presence which wants to help me, and yeah, it is difficult, but I'm still willing to do my best, my limited best to handle the difficulty. And